In a world filled with sharks, bears, and killer bees, one man is brave enough to stay indoors to bring you the latest in gaming, movie, and pop culture news. That man is Tom Awesome, and this is the Outside is Overrated podcast.
Hello and welcome to Outside is Overrated, a grown-up podcast about gaming and nerd pop culture. On this podcast, we discuss video games, books, TV shows, movies, and board games. Thank you so much for joining us. Every month on this main show, we discuss some part of nerd pop culture. And also in our feed, we play and discuss a game with our Patreon supporters each month. Those are our game club episodes, because I know what I call things. I'm your host, Tom Sidlacek, and we've got a great show lined up for you today. Today, we're discussing The Caped Crusader, a new animated Batman show on Prime. Joining me for the discussion are Dr. B, Brian Camille.
Hi, everyone.
And Mrs. OiO, Phoenix Sidlacek.
Hello.
Welcome back to the show, guys. It's been a minute since either of you have been on the main podcast. So, Brian, how have you started your summer?
A couple different things. So we are playing Echoes of Wisdom, which was essentially the spiritual successor to Link's Awakening on the Switch. It's kind of like Link's Awakening meets Tears of the Kingdom. It's been wildly fun.
I had no idea this thing existed. Echoes of Wisdom?
Yeah. So
it's a new Zelda game?
Did you play the remake of Link's Awakening? I'm assuming you probably haven't.
No.
Yeah, you got about 1 billion games you play, which is one of my favorite games of all time. They made a remake for it in this like chibi kind of like Japanese style. It's almost like little toy characters you play as. But now they did one where Zelda is the mainline character, and it's you kind of navigate the world by creating objects that you get into an inventory that you memorize and then use them to solve everything. It's wildly creative. So like if it works, congratulations, because there's about 1 billion ways to do it. I've been playing some Rivals with my brother and friend of the show,
hold on
Scott.
a second here.
Oh, good lord!
Like hearing you say that Echoes of Wisdom is kind of like a creative, puzzly game. Like that doesn't scream Brian to me.
Really doesn't.
That doesn't seem like anything you would want any part of.
100%. That is why I had not played it. It came out a year ago, and I'm like, that's not for me. But my brother Gregory, who's a pretty avid gamer, like kept hammering on me. He's like, "You're gonna like it. You're gonna like it. You're gonna like it." And it turns out I have.
So like for Tales of the Borderlands, all I would have had to do is like say that you like it.
No. Tales of the Borderland is a click adventure. They made those on like...
You wouldn't know, Brian.
Nope, I
did have no idea.
Nope, I did. I tried to get through that even slightly high, and it still wasn't fun. That's how bad that game is.
Drugs are bad, and like I don't think you can ascertain the value of a game in the first 2 minutes, Brian guy.
No. I went through a full 20, and it sucked. At one point, my wife is like, "Why are you even playing this?" Kelsey said that.
If you played 20 minutes and didn't get the first trophy, like maybe you were too high. Like maybe you were incapable of like pressing forward on the left
just
stick.
the right amount, and it still wasn't fun. And you know why? Pushing left on the stick wouldn't have mattered, because it's a cutscene. There's no movement, Tom. So I could press up on the stick, and guess what would happen? Nothing. Cutscene keeps playing. Good times.
There is plenty of movement in Tales from the Borderlands. If you would like to understand that inside joke, like go back and listen to the Borderlands episode, which is roughly around episode 50.
So, a quick question. Playing games, do you like having cutscenes, or do you prefer not having cutscenes? Or...
I can answer that for Brian.
Here's the deal, though. Because here's the deal. One of my favorite series of all time is Metal Gear Solid, which is known for absurdly long cutscenes. The longest continuous cutscene in apparently video game history, not counting the click games that Telltale put out, is Metal Gear Solid 4. It's an hour and like 10 minutes or something.
Really?
It is, and you can't quit it nor pause it. So I don't mind it if the story is good. Tales of the Borderland, I just thought it was kind of... I enjoyed the humor of 2 a lot, and then I kind of fell off the Borderlands train. I kind of lost it.
I'm just curious, because, watching you play video games, you got cutscenes, you got to wait, and then jump into the action, I kind of like being able to just keep playing.
Yeah.
Where, like Mario, it's like, click, click. No, don't want to read. Click, click.
Yep.
I just don't want to read. It's like, I want to keep playing. So I'm just curious how everyone else is.
And I've said it before on the show, good gameplay will keep me invested, but I'm not willing to work through a bunch of what I think to be mediocre story to get to more gameplay. If the gameplay is a slog, I'm out. Mm-hmm. And that's why those games don't work for me, because there really is no gameplay. It's quick time events. That's all it is. There
Disagree.
is no. At what point can you control your character and do anything?
If you had played Tales from the Borderlands, you'd know that. Like, you're driving around the desert, like, you're moving around. Like, there is a lot of gameplay in Tales from the Borderlands, and
He's
you're just
making this up because he's trying to die on this hill.
No, you're feeling incredibly defensive, and, like, you just refuse to accept that maybe you should have experienced that game before we talked about it. And, like, this is why I keep bringing it up, because I don't feel like you gave it enough of an effort to have an honest discussion about it.
Okay, so here's the deal. I will make a deal with you. If we get to episode 100, if this thing is still alive by the time we get there,
2 episodes away, so we're
I
pretty close.
will put at least multiple hours into it and come back with a fresh opinion. But if it's the same, this topic dies permanently.
I think that's fair. Like, if you give it, if you give it a real experience, enough to have an honest to God opinion on it, like, then I can let this. The reason this popped up again is, like, I'm far behind in listening to my own episodes.
Yeah.
I'm listening to Tales of Ghost of Tsushima right now, and I brought it up there. I'm like, oh yeah, I need to remember this for tomorrow.
It's some of those games. It can be just really hard at times to. I'm kind of like my wife, where like if it's like with media with Kelsey, within 8 minutes she's fully aware of whether she's going to like this or not,
sure.
and I can be just as critical. I like to move fast, but then games like again for Zelda, there was no way that I would have played Echoes of Wisdom if not my brother cajoling me repeatedly, and it has turned into a wonderful chill experience. So there's times that you can definitely be surprised, and I appreciate that.
Well, just thinking about we're playing
Jotunheim, Hordes of Hell, the greatest game ever made.
I love the game, but there's some times where I want to just mash the button so I feel like I'm doing more, because all you do is
You're doing plenty. You're killing everything.
Well, you just have to build your character enough to be able to kill, but you have to.
It is an auto-battling game. It's basically Vampire Survivors with modern graphics and a Norse theme to it, and it is super rad.
It's really rad. It's just sometimes I wish I can mash the attack button to be able to do more damage, but you just sit there and control the character. So.
You just move around the screen and then pick your power-ups and go to town.
I'd struggle with that too, I think.
So, yeah, it's just you have to pick and choose wisely the type of powers you want, where I go after beefy weapons instead of health, and he's there doing passives, and you look at his thing, it's like, oh, I don't have any weapons going.
So the way the setup works, if you're playing single player, you pick a character that you start as. There's like a barbarian, there's like a fire cultist, there's like a wizard person, and a couple of other things. And each one of your classes is going to have like 5 to 10 different like attacks that they can do. As you level up, you're picking from a menu of options, and like you can choose one of those attacks. And then there's also up to 8 gods that are also included, like Odin, Thor, Freya, all of your Norse gods, and they all have different powers and attacks. So you're building out your character in single player with 2 class skills and 5 god skills. Maybe it's 2 and 3. We play local co-op, which gives us each 1 class skill for our character and 3 god skills and any number of passives. And we have noticed a very differing philosophy. Phoenix wants those attacks and wants them maxed out. I want passives. Like, I want healing, regeneration, absolute must. If Phoenix isn't playing as the barbarian, I need to boost my health and have that regen. And Phoenix is basically straight attacks and armor.
Yeah, I choose. Like last night, my guy was squishy, so I took the god skill, and man, that just boosted it. And you had a chance, and you're like, nope, health. And you died, or did?
No,
I died. Actually.
You died, yeah.
Ooh, she tried to turn the table on you. That's called gaslighting, Phoenix. I think you failed.
I died. That's right. Yeah. I had the cool thing going on, but I brought it down to really tiny.
Yeah. No, you basically killed the boss, then you died on the last gasp, and I just ran for my life and was able to finish it off with my autocasting. Good times. Hortonheim.
Horton heard a what?
Jotunheim, Hordes of Hell, super fun. Regular retail price is $20. We got it on sale in the PlayStation Store for $10, and like we've been playing it like crazy.
I love it when you find a game that's kind of on the discount like that, and it winds up being fun, because it's like sometimes $70 is kind of a it's a barrier.
And like if we had paid $70 for this game, I think we'd still enjoy it.
Yeah.
But like
even better.
The original Gateway is I got it for free on the Epic Store. I'm like, what is this weird Norse thing? And so I fired it up. I'm like, oh, Vampire Survivors, but with like cool graphics. Cool. And I made Phoenix play 1, and then I put it on the PlayStation wish list, and it's It's been awesome.
I love that.
But Bry Guy, we cut you off. You were just starting to talk about getting back into Marvel Rivals.
We're just playing some Rivals with friend of the show, Scott, and my brothers. So that's been fun. I've been doing a lot of competitive with that, which is both wonderful and frustrating at the same time. And then finally...
What's wonderful about playing competitive on Marvel Rivals? Because, like, I played a lot of Overwatch at its time, and, like... I played like one competitive match. I'm like, I'm just never going to do that again.
It is crazy how toxic the community can be. At one point, though, they call it bronze hell. So that's where you start off on the leveling. It goes bronze, silver, gold, platinum, and then kind of you work your way up. I think celestial is the top end. But you can really struggle with depending on team composition and people's knowledge base. So at one point, I had gone 6-31 in competitive matches because I'm trying to level up so I can play with Scott and my brothers. And at that record wound up falling in the bottom 1% of all players. Yikes. And I am on average, my kill to death ratio is I kill 5.5 for every time I die, which is in the top 30% of all players. So
are you just a horrible teammate or what?
I guess, but when I look at that 1%, I'm like, oh, this is truly like an epic kind of thing. This might never happen again. So I finally got out of it. The toxicity part, though, sucks. And I know the Overwatch community has been brutal with that, too. So that... It's hard, because if I didn't play with my brothers and Scott, I don't think I'd be playing it. It's too hard to do it as a lone player. And then finally, I got one of my nephews, Ender's Game, for his Christmas gift. He just got through it, fell in love with the book, and now he wants to read the second one. So I'm going through Ender's Game again. I'm about 30% through. I started yesterday. And then I think this week we'll start on the second book together because he wants to do it with me. So, and I've never read the second one, so we're going to kind of see where this thing goes. But
I should read the second one.
I was going to ask.
It's supposed to be pretty good.
Yeah, my sister loves the series. I've hoarded the books for a long time.
Yeah, I have. But what level is Scott and your brother in the game?
You can, if someone is more than a level above.
And who's
you,
better, honestly? Greg
is probably the best player, but he's also the best Smash player. Greg is just naturally good at most things. It's really annoying. So Scott has definitely improved a ton in the last so many years. You can only play with someone if they're one level above you. So if I'm a bronze, I can play with silvers, but not gold. And Greg at this point, I think, is platinum. I think Scott is gold. And then our other brother, Joey, I think, is about gold. So it's, if they get too far ahead, they don't even let you team up together. You have to kind of catch up. So that's been kind of the fight.
Interesting. That sounds miserable.
It's
like, oh man, I'd love to play with my brothers, but I can't, so, frick this game.
Yeah, what we've learned is at the start of the season, you all start your placement matches together so that you guys go at the same way, and then you can just play together. Because I got caught in, again, that bronze hell. And at one point, Gregory, being kind enough, started a new account because he's like, look, I might have to build another account just to help you get out of there because of some of the team games we were seeing. It was brutal. But we got through. And lots of swearing later. I'm now playing with my siblings.
Yeah, and you're balancing that with Echoes of Wisdom, so it's an interesting yin and yang.
Yes, absolutely. That is the game where when you want to shut your brain off and just kind of go enjoy something beautiful, there's a place for that.
Speaking of places for things, I've been playing the PS Portal a ton. PlayStation Portal is like the best tool that's ever been developed for video games. So like, as a dad, like I can't always be in front of my TV playing things, but like I can often be on a couch or in my bed or like other areas in the house with just like 15 to 45 minutes to kill, and like having the Portal, like my PS5 now reaches everywhere in the house, and like I couldn't be happier with the purchase.
Brandon said that it's awesome, and so my brother Joey picked one up too in the last year. Both of them highly recommend, because essentially it turns into a Switch, right? That's the entire idea.
Yeah, you're playing your PS5 just on a remote play or wherever. So yeah, it's essentially like a Switch for your PS5.
Because what I've been doing is I've been having PlayStation connected to my tablet, and then I just Bluetooth my PS5 controller to it. But to be honest, the Portal, obviously it's made for it, and it looks like it'd be way more comfortable to play on. Is that accurate?
I mean, I can't testify to your tablet, but it is slick and handy and comfortable, yes.
Okay, cool.
Is it more comfortable than the Switch holding it?
It's more comfortable than everything.
Switch is tough because the buttons are so small on the Switch. I just feel like a giant trying to play it.
Yeah, and
I don't have big hands.
R2, L2, like it's hard to imagine doing like any intense combat on the Switch. It's like, oh, all these cool games are being released on Switch too, but I have my Portal, so I'll just buy them on my preferred platform.
What about the Steam Deck?
I love my Steam Deck, but it doesn't play everything on Steam as seamlessly as I want. Like, for example, I wanted to play Fallout 3 on it. I had this weird hankering to play Fallout 3, and the operating system isn't super compatible with the Steam operating system, which sounds weird because, like, I have it on Steam and I can play it flawlessly on the computer, but on the Steam Deck, it would just crash constantly.
Ooh.
So, like, the Steam Deck is a cool thing, and I'm glad that I have it, but, like, it's just... I can't play all the games that I necessarily want to on it the way that I want to. Like, I thought I'd be playing, like, these big computer RPGs on it, like Pillars of Eternity and stuff, and it's like, oh, without a mouse, that's kind of a subpar experience. Or, like, it doesn't format particularly well on the smaller screen, and it's just... The Steam Deck, I love it, but it's been a bit of a disappointment for, like, how I want to play games.
So right now, the Portal is like your top.
Yeah, like, if I had to pick one video game thing, I would take the Portal over literally everything.
What does it retail at, do you know?
It was $199 until the PlayStation price hiked, and now I think it's up to $299.
Holy mother.
It was a huge jump.
Everything jumped so high, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yep, especially hardware, and it's like, that was the tipping point for me, because, like, I wanted one for a long time. It's like, oh, well, that'd be kind of neat, but I don't super play my Steam Deck. Like, it'd be kind of a luxury thing, and then, like, they announced the price hike, and I'm like, well, I'm going to buy it now, and we're going to decide whether or not we open the box. And then I opened the box, and now I am happy. Before we launch into our main show, we would like to thank our sponsor, Premier Health. Check out their website at premierhealthmn.com. That's premierhealthmn.com. If you enjoy Outside is Overrated, or even if you hate us with a burning fiery passion, please support the show on Patreon at patreon.com/OiO. That's patreon.com/OiO. Your support helps us pay for all the media that we consume and all the back-end expenses that go into a podcast. If you enjoy our personalities, follow us on social. You can email the show at overratedpod@gmail.com. You can follow Phoenix at PhoenixSidlogic_OiO on Instagram. You can follow me at TomSidlogic_OiO on Instagram and Blue Sky. You can show up at Brian's house and give him a big old hug in the morning. And you can follow the show at Facebook.com/OutsideIsOverrated.
Stay out of my life.
Today, we're discussing the animated series Batman, the Caped Crusader on Amazon Prime. The first season of the show features 10 episodes of Batman making friends and battling an endless stream of corruption in Gotham. The show was created by Bruce Timm and Bob Kane. Timm is the character designer for basically every Batman animated series, and Kane created Batman. He has 281 credits on IMDb, with many of them being Batman and the other characters he created. Brian, we wanted you to be on the show because we know that you loved Batman, the animated series, and that show meant a lot to you. Phoenix, Batman is one of your favorite characters, and you love animated media. So coming into the show, what was your absolute favorite Batman media?
I mean, Dark Knight, I think, is kind of the pinnacle. I don't think that's too crazy to say for most people, between what Heath Ledger did and just kind of like how that particular movie did so many things right. Maybe outside of Christian Bale, something like my aunt that smokes too many cigarettes. Everything else virtually perfect.
And Tom Hardy is a timeless classic who is wonderful in everything where he wears a mask.
Well, yeah, but that's the next one, because isn't that Dark Knight Rises?
I don't recall.
Yeah, that's the next one.
Oh,
so
well, nuts.
And I love Hardy for Mad Max, but
that movie sucked. I loved him in Venom.
Inaccurate. Hey,
you want to jump in with that war movie, Phoenix, where he's flying around in the plane and the whole movie didn't make any sense? The beach, right?
No, the beach. Yeah. No, that scene is all wrong, inaccurate. So no, that movie's not.
Yeah, all right. So I like Tom Hardy the best. He's my best friend.
So the animated series, though, I would say is my favorite piece of medium. And it's for a bunch of different reasons, right? Like Kevin Conroy, Mark Hamill, they got some of the voice talent that they wound up getting for this thing. I mean, they won 4 or 5 Emmys for this series, right? They kind of coined the term dark noir, dark deco. Because of Art Deco is kind of the style of this. 1940s is kind of this ambiguous. We have blimps and we have like futuristic helicopters, but we also have TVs and it's black and white, and it's just kind of this cool thing that they figured out. But Conroy wound up doing 60 different projects over the next 30 years. And he is the voice of Batman. It was so well done. Mark Hamill is the just slaughtered it as Joker. Yes, I know everyone thinks of him as Luke Skywalker, and I am a fan of Star Wars. But, like, I think about him more just his voice and this thing that he created with the Joker that went on again for multiple decades. In fact, I didn't know that Tim Curry was the guy that actually got that role first.
Oh, really?
They gave it to Tim Curry. And then straight up, they're like, oh, he had bronchitis. So they're like, no, we can't wait. So they went with Mark Hamill instead, and thank God.
Yes.
That's interesting. I would venture to say that Mark Hamill is more iconic as the Joker than he is as Luke Skywalker. Is that crazy? I mean, sure, Skywalker has a bigger place in pop culture, but, like, he did a lot more as the Joker, and, like, he was in a lot more. So I think that character is more iconic of Mark Hamill.
It's hard to say because, you know, I was around Star Wars because Odin loves Star Wars. So I was around that more early on, so I recognized him. When I found out he did the voice of Joker, I'm like, are you kidding me? Puny little Skywalker was the Joker, but... it's hard to say. I think it's about 50-50. You know, it depends on what year you grew up. What, you know, did you grow up on the animated series? Have you played the video games? Have you been around his Batman cartoons, animated stuff? Or has your parents had you watch Star Wars? So I think it depends on what kind of household or generation you grew up in.
That sounds like a kind way of you saying that I'm crazy, honey.
No, I'm just thinking, you know, it's like... My parents, we didn't have WB, so I never saw the animated series. When they brought me to my Nana's house, it's like I snuck in the other room to try to time it so I could watch the animated series, and I would catch clips here and there. But, you know, we knew about Star Wars because...
And the original series for Star Wars is like a corner piece of science fiction history, right?
Yeah.
Like, it is one of the tenets of what it is. And I don't think that you can say that Batman the Animated Series is that. And he plays a pivotal role. He plays one of the main roles in Star Wars. So I don't think that we can compare them apples to oranges. I just don't think we can.
And one reason that I give the edge to the Joker is just because it transcends media type. Because, like, it was animated series, it was video games, it was more than just a movie. But I totally get what you guys are saying. Phoenix, what is your absolute favorite piece of Batman media?
It's a hard question. I've always gravitate more towards the animated stuff of Batman because I just love animated style. You know, I try to own all the movies
Well, let's narrow it down then to your favorite Batman animated series, because I know that the animated series wasn't necessarily your favorite animated Batman property.
Originally, no, because I only caught, you know, here and there episodes because I could only watch it at my grandma's house and she lived 4 hours away. So it's like I only catch episodes here and there. Once I was older, I would try to rent or
grab them from the
library to watch stuff. And I can't remember what one animated series that I own the whole thing, but I can't remember the title for it to click with people. But I enjoyed Year One a lot because that brought it to the gritty noir with Batman, and so I really enjoyed that one a lot. So as far as live action, I did enjoy Dark Knight a lot. It was very nice to see it rejuvenized, you know, in a different way. But I think the new Robert Pattinson is probably becoming my favorite so far.
Yeah, give me the Batman too.
It's just the style of the movie, the way they have his character, the way he's trying to figure out who he is, and
the way they had a dude from Twilight playing the main protagonist.
Yeah, it was fun to see him switch. But, you know, and also him trying to become that strong character because, you know, the movies jump in where he's already been Batman for a while. So you already have those relationships honed where in Robert Pattinson, it's like he neglected society. He didn't take care of what his dad, you know, the orphanage. And at the end of the movie, he realizes that he has to create the two different personas. So
that Bruce Wayne is equally important to the Batman. Yeah, I thought that was a really interesting tension between them two.
So right now I'm really thinking, like, for live action, I think Robert Pattinson, the new Batman, is becoming my favorite. So
I've only seen it one time in theater, and I think I got to go back to seeing it again because I do remember enjoying it. But sometimes it's that second time that you just kind of get a little bit more of a clarity of what you're watching.
You do.
And then maybe it's time to go through that again because I do remember it being good.
Yeah.
So for me, it was the Batman. The Batman is what I wrote down. Thinking more as you guys were talking, like a close number 2 for me would be Arkham City, the second game in the Arkham series.
The best. Oh, good pick.
It was killer. And thinking through this episode and thinking about all the things that we're going to talk about and my answers to all of them, it turns out Batman isn't necessarily my favorite character. It's like,
Oh, really?
I consistently like everything that Batman's in, but it's never hitting like the high of Spider-Man's highs for me. So
interesting.
like I was thinking of my absolute favorite, and it's like, oh, well, I kind of like this and I kind of like that, and the animated series was all right, but yeah, I don't know. Batman, not super favorite.
I think Batman's good, but he's kind of boring. He's this brooding, not perfect, but he's this brooding, focused, tactical creature. But his rogue gallery, and again, I think every hero is defined by the rogue gallery, right? If your enemies are great, then the character is more interesting. If you took away Venom and a bunch of other characters, would Spider-Man be that interesting? Probably not.
Disagree. I can watch Peter Parker just do science. It's fine. Batman the Caped Crusader presents a noir take on The Dark Knight, reinventing several iconic characters with largely standalone episodes. Gotham feels more like a 1940s crime story than a superhero universe. Feener, did the noir setting make Gotham more interesting?
It did for me because it brings it back to its original roots when it first was written on the comic books. Because I had to do some research because my Greek mythology class, we had to pick a hero and, the hero complex, and I can't remember what the other complex is, but doing some research and looking at some of the old comics, it's like that old, of course, the 40s and the 50s, you have that gritty noir detective type style.
And you love that genre, like you love noir detective stuff.
Yeah, and watching the show, it's like I felt like I was listening to an old-time radio show. Just the amount of time that they tell the story, the way they tell the story, is just, I felt like I was watching one of those detectives I love. Even, I was thinking it sounded like The Shadow at times, The Shadow.
Oh, I made that reference too if you were reading some of the show notes. Absolutely, we'll talk about that in a second.
It's just like, and so when we're watching the show, it's like, oh, I remember the Alec Baldwin movie, The Shadow. I enjoyed it for what it was, but it's like, but that gritty sort of style, and I liked how they brought the original costumes back from the original comic books, like Catwoman with her dress instead of
Brian's favorite.
Yeah, that's a tough go for me. We'll talk about it.
But and so I think the style and the way they told it, I really enjoyed it. So it'll be fun to see what they do with the second season with the Joker and everything, how they change his character, see how they touch on him. So,
and Brian, I don't know if you have an affinity for the noir style or not, but did you like the setting for Batman the Caped Crusader?
I did. And in Phoenix, it kills me that there's all these episodes. They're all on Prime now, and I think they're free. So if it's time for you to go back, it's time for you to go back.
Actually, I did go back when I was washing dishes on my little TV on the window.
Because you originally watched this show first,
yes,
and then you went back and watched the animated series.
And I can, watching the animated series, it's highly rated in my mind now because I can see why people love it. I can see why, and it gives me that 90s feel that I recognize with the Batman and what we recognize. And so I truly really enjoy the series. I'm into the second season, and I'm glad that it's available on Prime because I couldn't find it. Either I had to buy it or it was hard to find when I was younger. So
I was going through the episodes last night, and I'll talk about Caped Crusader in just a second, but I was going through the episodes last night, and I went across the one where the Gray Ghost, if you didn't notice, that was Adam West's voice.
Yes,
the original Batman is now talking to the new Batman. He's like, "Hey, I looked up to you as a kid. You were who I wanted to be." I'm like, "Oh, it's so good." And Ron Perlman is Clayface and all that. They got some talent. So, right out of the gates, loved it. I don't know if the noir thing is a thing for me entirely, but like this. I like Detective Batman versus Batman that's a ninja all the time, right? This is the version of Batman I like. And they had a lot that they had to deal with, right? Because the orchestral, the score of the show was based a lot off of Tim Burton's movies, right? And you can hear that right out of the gates. Yeah,
I didn't catch that at all. That's interesting.
Yeah, and so they also had a lot of heavy inspiration from the art style of the original comics. So that's where you get that, Phoenix. And the original color palettes. That's why everything's so muted all the time there, which was amazing. And And the thing that I think made the animated series so good, I think it's still a perfect score on Rotten Tomato, which is kind of hard to do because everyone's a cynic nowadays.
Well, yeah, I think that like review culture has changed from there was a lot less reviews being done around the time that the animated series came out, and like we run into that constantly on the show because we'll watch a crappy old movie and like, oh, it's got like an 84 on Metacritic, whereas a new modern better movie will be like a 72.
Yeah, and I can maybe there's some nostalgia goggles to it, but the thing about this old series that I liked so much was that the nuance was so intense for a show that was aimed towards youth, right? Yeah. The villains all had pain. The villains had motives that were that made sense why that they had fallen in the way that they did, and they were really good about painting that out. Every one of these villains is a tragic story, and the ends of some of these episodes, including the old ones, they weren't happy. The endings would be people are falling apart, people are being destroyed over this stuff, and that's just how it ends. So they had a lot that they had to deal with to create the Caped Crusader. 10 minutes in, art style killed it. Absolutely killed it. They emulated that art style to a degree that was incredible to me.
And it still looked modern and like awesome.
Yes, and the modern, the score was fantastic. And I do really appreciate that, and we'll get into it, how they tweaked some of the characters too, because we've got 30, 40, 50, 60 years of some of these characters. We just can't keep rolling out the same squad all the time. And I mean, the animated series created Harley Quinzel. Yeah. Like, she came from that. That is one of the most popular characters in DC as far as a heroine goes. It came out of the show. She was supposed to be a one-character one-off, but they created something so incredible that she winds up spanning another 30 years on her own. Like, they had this huge task. And I think they got it right when they got it wrong.
Yeah, talking about the animated series with the villains, I should share it with you, the episode of Harvey Dent. The way that they told his story in the animated series is an incredible storyline. I'm a little bit disappointed how they handled Harvey in this series, but yeah, we should talk about the villains. I can see why people love the villains and their stories in the animated series. And if we'll talk about it later, but just the Caped Crusader, they do their own version and they do it well at times. So and the drawing I thought was very interesting because it had that simplistic but look modern, like you're talking about, and noirish look. So I know some people had a hard time with some of the drawings when I was looking at the critics. You know, they're just like...
That's surprising.
It looks so much like the 90s one.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if you didn't know any better, it looks like it's the exact same style. And that's hard to do.
Yeah, especially nowadays with the computers, you know, trying to match what was drawn for the animated series. So,
well, I thought that Gotham and the art style were both awesome, but the thought that I kept coming back to, like, I just wish it wasn't a Batman thing. I wish they could do an animated series of, like, Rexed Out and, like, have Archie running around.
That would be cool, yeah.
Brian, you've talked a lot about the voice actors from the animated series. Let's talk about the talent that is in this show, Batman the Caped Crusader. Hamish Linklater has 64 acting credits, including The Big Short, Battleship, the Bad Fantastic Four movie. He plays Batman. Jason Watkins has 137 acting credits, including The Lost Honor of Christopher Jeffries, The Crown, and Dirty Business. He plays Alfred. And Diedrich Bader from Office Space and The Drew Carey Show plays Harvey Dent. Wiener, did you find the voice acting satisfying in Batman the Caped Crusader?
I can't picture the actors in my head, but just watching the show and the way that they did it, I felt it came together. I didn't have any issues with things falling flat with the characters and the voice actors. So, in my opinion, I think it was well done. So.
And Brian, I detect a passion on your part for voice acting. Like, was this cast up to snuff for this series?
I don't... Considering what the first series did that this is based off of, I don't really think they can match that, just again because we're talking about characters that were so intense that they wound up spanning decades more of work in the field, and they're jumping mediums from animated stuff to movies to video games. So I don't think there was anything in there that I was like, oh my gosh, like this is truly lightning in a bottle, excuse me. But I I wasn't taken out of it either by the performances either. So I think
you hated it with a burning fiery passion.
I think I hate it with a very lukewarm. It just came out of the microwave. The outside's warm, but the inside's cold. I think it was fine. I wasn't the biggest fan of Batman, but Batman, the voice actor, and he did what he did with the character he has. Batman's a very flat, kind of boring character in this particular series. And maybe as he develops more relationships, we see more of him. But as of right now, I think they did the best they could with what they had.
I think that the Diedrich Bader casting is particularly interesting because, like, he is a goofy dude. Like, I'll never forget him in Office Space. What would you do if you had $1 million? 2 chicks at one time. That's Harvey Dent, dude. And, like, I didn't even realize it was him. Like, I didn't hear the voice and think, oh, yeah, that's that creepy dude from Office Space. But I thought that Dent in particular, I thought he had a really good arc, and I thought that Bader did a fantastic job, particularly towards the end of the storyline when Dent was more Two-Face than Dent.
And that, when we talk about episodes that we recommend, that's where you and I will have kind of maybe a talk, Phoenix, about what you did and didn't like about that. We'll talk about that then.
Well, right now, let's talk about the big fella. This version of Batman is younger, colder, and less interested in working with other people than many versions of the character. Where does this Batman rank against other versions we've seen?
Again, I'm just going to say it's just okay. I find he's a little bit less interesting. He's brooding. He's quiet.
Does that put him at the bottom of the list, though? Like, if you're going to rank him against...
I don't think we need to be extreme about it, but I think he's, like, if we're 1's terrible and 10 is like, hey, Conroy, get off your pedestal, he's a 5. I mean, he did okay. It wasn't enough for me to go, I actively dislike this character, because the guy did the best he could with what was written, but this version of Batman is very much a loner. He's very rude. He's very cut off from people, and that does make him kind of a flat character. Up until about the end, like even with Alfred, he is short and rude, and
my coffee is cold.
Right, there just isn't much to him. So I think maybe if he's given an ability to show more of a spectrum, but as of right now, I mean, it's a muted character, and I think they're maybe building to something more than that. But that's where we're at.
I guess I feel like this is. His parents were murdered, and he's probably has closed himself off all his life. He wants to train. I like this progression because it's showing what we're not used to seeing. The Batman who has friends, who has people that work with him. We're seeing the kid that just closed himself off from the world and is trying to figure out a way to avenge his parents' death the way he feels like is the best way. And I especially like the scene in the episode where he gets the gun and is shooting it at the cop, because he did carry a gun in the originals, and he stopped carrying it when he got Richard as Robin. So because he brought in...
You said he stopped carrying the gun when he got Dick.
I know.
We're going to timestamp that. That might go on a t-shirt.
Your little smile. Like, oh my God,
I was trying to keep it together. I was trying so hard.
But Phoenix, from what you said, like, considering what your favorite Batman movie is, they're very similar characters, right?
They are similar characters, like what they're going to show with Robert Pattinson trying to grow into the Batman that we know now. And so with the animated series, he's already established. He already has his network. He already has the people that he trusts around him. Where I think with this one, he doesn't totally trust himself yet. Even though he knows what he's doing in ways, I don't think he trusts himself enough to extend to have someone help him. And
he doesn't trust himself enough to be vulnerable.
Yes, vulnerable with people. So it'll be interesting as the series goes on to see if they show that progression of him creating more of a relationship with Alfred, and then how does Barbara Gordon become Batgirl, just a lot of those things. And how he helps with Commissioner Gordon with his stuff. How does that trust come in, So I think him being standoffish is fine for me, because shows that there is development of this character coming, where if it's like off the bat he trusts everyone, there's no development, there's no nothing. So I'm enjoying it too.
Where I think it does for me at least, and maybe I don't know where you're at on this, I think where it does hit a point that I was like, oh, I really like this. The fact he's willing to get his hands dirty.
Yeah.
Like he killed some people, dude.
He's killing some people. This show is fine about showing death too, which I also thought was great. Just because it shows like the stakes at times. But when he's trying to figure out, like, there's a hit on the Gordon and they're trying to figure out, who that was, he goes into a prison and beats the living god out of a guy. I was like, hell yeah, go Batman. Like, I do like that version of him more, where he's just like, well, I'm not bound by the law, so I'm just going to do what I think I should do. And
chaotic good for the win, yo.
And sometimes it is violent, and I'm like, okay, this I like. So I think that is actually something I enjoy much more than the original. Is just his complete and own moral compass, and I'm going to do whatever I feel like.
It is interesting because, with the animated series, it was on WB Kids and stuff, so they can't show people dying, like with Samurai Jack when that came out. You have to kill robots. It's the only way you can show a samurai slicing through something is robots. You can't do it with humans.
Same thing with TMNT.
Yeah, with the turtles. So it's kind of interesting since you brought it up, like with it being on Prime, they can go a little darker, show him killing, but they're not going all the way like some of the animated movies have with, the killing and stuff. But it is...
And if it was on HBO, it could have boobs, honey.
Yes. But, yeah, I forgot about the prison. It's like just watching him just not caring and just bulldozing through to get to the guy to get the answers. So he's going to do what he can. And one interesting thing with this Batman is there's no computers. And that's what I love about this old style noir, because we're seeing the 40s where there's no computers. He has that
clear screen that he stands in front of. That's red and green that he just stares at.
With the city, and then behind him is a whole library of books. So it shows that he does research, and he went to the library to research the crest on that one episode. It's like, like you said, he gets his hands dirty. He does his research. He does what he has to do before he acts. And that is, what Batman does. He has to figure it out before he acts.
So I'm going to reframe or repeat my question. Where does this Batman rank against other versions? So against Kevin Conroy, beneath, right?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah, I would have to say, watching the animated series, I can see the love for Kevin. And so he's probably be closer in the top 10 right now for me, but I can see him not being number one for a lot of people. So
then let's stack him up against Christian Bale and Robert Pattinson. Beneath, right?
I'd say so. And I put him behind Keaton, too. I really liked Keaton's Batman, but this is where we start to run the problem where, like, some of this is my childhood.
Nostalgia, yeah.
And they drew inspiration from those things. So this is where it gets dicey. And the problem is, there's so much. There's so much where you go like, okay, it's him versus 1,000 versions of Batman. Yes. Within your top 4? It's like, well.
Yeah, and like the at least the first Keaton movie still holds up because we watched it relatively recently. I think we watched it when we did the Batman episode on the movie The Batman. So I'm fine putting him beneath that. What about against other animated properties? Like Feeney, I'm going to turn to you on this one because I know you've watched other animated.
That's the problem is like I should have looked into it more. Kevin was used a lot in a lot of the animated movies. Yeah,
Under the Red Hood, which is awesome.
Yeah,
one of my favorites. Still him.
Yeah, he's basically done a lot of the movies as well as Mark Hamill. I don't know if they stopped at the same time or because I know Kevin died.
Yeah, and Hamill's last thing I want to say was Arkham Knight.
Wasn't it the movie The Killing Joke?
Oh, that's actually a good point. I also know the guy DiMaggio, the voice of Bender from Futurama, took over as the Joker.
Is he the one that did?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think that's who it was, by the way, in Red Hood. It's not Hamill.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So now we're basically putting him above Kilmer and Clooney. Is that the territory that we're in? If he's towards the bottom of the heap, that's fine because like I think there's a Mendoza line of quality and he's above that. Like I think the portrayal is fine, if not particularly noteworthy. I think that he's got some hard comparisons that we're drawing him to against some iconic performances.
And this is going to be a really hard question for both of you. What's the Mendoza line for you guys? Because I mean, Clooney and Kilmer don't really get there for me. So what is that line for you?
Basically above them.
That's pretty much it. Just get over these guys and you're high five.
And then you're tolerable, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, same thing. Unless I have a list in front of me, you have the Justice League movies with someone that voices Batman there. I don't think Kevin did a lot of those. I can't remember. But I think he is closer to the top for me around, below Robert Patterson and Kevin. But yeah, the Mendoza, Clooney and they're at the bottom. So.
I'd put him near Affleck. I think Affleck.
I forgot about
Oh yeah, I forgot about him too.
But here's the thing: he did just fine. I think he did just fine. His
He did.
version of Batman was just fine, and that's where I find this.
Yeah.
I remember I liked him better on one side of the coin better. Do you remember if I liked him better as Bruce Wayne or as Batman?
I enjoyed his portrayal. I know there's people have some issues with it, but I thought his version was good. So I think he could be the line for me. Is Affleck is the line?
And that's awesome.
Where do we put this Batman in relation
Above.
to Affleck then? Above?
Maybe
I'd put him above. And the nuance that you said there is really perfect. It's because it's not just Batman. It's how do they play Bruce Wayne and how do they play Batman? And some have been better than others. I think Kilmer might be the best version of Bruce Wayne that I've seen.
He has been.
And I would say that it's possible that Bale is also an excellent version of Bruce Wayne as well. The best Batman, it's really tough because they're not all that dissimilar. I think the most recent, as you had said, what's the young man's name that was
Robert Pattinson.
Robert Pattinson. I think he maybe is the best version of Batman that I've seen. But that's why
Clooney had nipples, dude.
he did, and it was always cold apparently in the Batcave. So, but I would say that Kevin Conroy, the big thing was he was so good at both, and it was such a stark difference between how he discusses and how his voice sounds Batman, and then when he's as Bruce Wayne and he's playing around. I think this version of Bruce Wayne is the most superficial, and we understand it's an act, right? Like he's doing this to be like the playboy, but it also makes him a little bit boring. I feel like the Kevin Conroy version of Bruce was more interesting. But both characters are hard to pull off at the same time.
And that's the thing, like, it's watching, like, live action, it's like that transition of being playful to the deep, gritty grunt voice. It's hard to do it.
Batman doesn't necessarily have to have the Christian Bale, like, gruff voice.
And that's the only thing that grates on me in those movies.
Yeah.
This team needs a savior. And it's just like, oh, buddy boy, that sounds rough. So
I know, it was hard with him at times, but I did.
Was it harder than when Batman got dick?
It was interesting in the episode with Harvey Dent, because when he meets up with Harvey Dent in the asylum, and he's trying to be Bruce Wayne, and you commented on when it happened, where he switches to his Batman voice to get Harvey Dent to answer him something, and then he switched back quickly. Thinking about that scene, I think the voice actor's doing a good job of doing the tone difference, and it'll be interesting to see if he becomes more of a playful playboy or if they're not going to show that as much and keep to the Batman with the voice actor. But I did enjoy the scene with the boat with Penguin where he gets he swam under the boat and comes up, and then he asks Barbara that question. I can't remember.
I guess it's not a party until, like, somebody gets wet.
And then he didn't work on her, so he switches to the other girls, So you see him
all
trying
over it,
to play that playboy part, even though he knows it's not always going to work. So,
and I really like the fact that you saw him slip accidentally. I think when he was with Harvey, he slipped. It wasn't intended.
That's why,
it's I don't really know if I've seen that in any other medium where he like accidentally breaks who he is.
And especially for this phase of Batman's career being early on, like, that's a very believable slip, and like it just lended credibility to the character.
Yes, it does.
Caped Crusader was marketed as a spiritual successor to Batman the Animated Series, which we've talked about quite a bit so far. Does the Caped Crusader live up to that comparison, or was it trying to do something completely different?
From the aesthetic to the musical score, to just generally the overall tone, I think that they nailed it to the best of their ability. I don't feel like they were trying to do something different. I think they were trying to take something that already existed that was beautiful and refine it, and that increased level of darkness added a layer to it that now when I watch the other version of it, I kind of wish it had. So And there's tons of times that we watch things that are like, oh, this was inspired by something else, and it just doesn't live up to your expectations. I think that's my frustration a lot of the times with Tales of the Borderland, is that I wanted Borderlands 2, but it's not Borderlands 2. But true. Neither was 3, and to be honest, I haven't even played 4, because to me it's just like, well, this has fallen away from what I love.
But have you seen the movie?
Oh my God! The fact that they had Kevin Hart as Roland.
Let's have some drinks and watch that movie together.
I'll
be a bonding experience. Yeah.
That'd be like Mystery Science Theater 3000.
You get the full-on commentary, good stuff.
Oh,
what I think is interesting about this show is they took something from our generation's childhood and they adapted it for us as adults, and I think that's interesting. And I don't think that is going to. I think that's going to be emulated across other properties and mediums. Like the animated series was a beloved thing, and now we have a version of it for our adult lives.
Yeah, I watched the Caped Crusader in full, and then I went and watched the animated series, and to me they're different enough that there wasn't a comparison there. I like the changes they made in Caped Crusader. I can see, and I love the animated series, so I think...
Do you think it's fair to call this show the spiritual successor? Do you think it's tied enough to that original property?
Possibly. It's hard for me to go all the way saying that, but because to me, I feel like they've done enough to make it its own thing without seeming like they're copying something. Because we can watch the animated series and relive our childhood and what we remember as Batman with Michael Keaton and all that with the animated series. Where this, I feel like it's its own thing and its own type of story, new refresh on a lot of the characters so that we can really fall in love with Batman as a different style. So.
And if it emulated it too much, it wouldn't be as fun. So the art style, music, great. Batman's about stories. Batman's about why people do what they do and what lengths we go to do the things that we want to do. And they push that in a way that's different, and that makes this certainly worthy of being with it. Yeah. Because they could have played this safe, and it could have been the same kind of thing, and it'd be like, well, yeah, it feels like my childhood, but I'm an adult now, so this isn't as cool.
Yes.
But the foundation, they took the things that the series nailed and go, well, what can we do with this in a way that they didn't do, or maybe they couldn't do based on censoring on WB.
Oh, true. Yeah.
And they did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're saying collectively that it stands as its own thing and is a fun homage to the past.
Yep.
All right. Well, we've got plenty more rogues to battle in our discussion of Batman the Caped Crusader. But first, let's hear a word from our sponsor, Premier Health.
This episode is brought to you by Premier Health, home to Dr. Brian Camille and Dr. Kelsey Camille, the better of the two doctors. Two chiropractors who know a thing or two about keeping your body aligned. So whether you're role-playing as a billionaire playboy or kicking butt in a costume, they've got you covered.
Unlike the Arkham series, your health is no game. At Premier Health, they specialize in everything from clay actors to deranged psychiatrists, helping you feel better, one adjustment at a time.
So if your back feels like you just role-played Batman's iconic fight against Bane, or if you're ready to upgrade your health, visit PremierHealthMN.com and schedule your next move. Premier Health, because the best defense is feeling your best. Check out their website at PremierHealthMN.com, PremierHealthMN.com. Back to our discussion of Batman the Caped Crusader. The show reimagined several iconic Batman characters. Which reinvention worked best, and were there any that fell flat for you?
I liked Gordon. I really liked Barbara. I love Oswalda. So they did some different kinds of things with certain characters, and like Penguin, they wound up just flipping gender, right?
Well, more than just gender, they also flipped size. Like as opposed to like a diminutive man, they had a very towering, physically opposing woman playing the Penguin, and more charismatic than Oswald Cobblepot usually is,
and probably more violent just by the amount of bodies that they left at the bottom of the lake.
Penguin's pretty violent in most portrayals.
I suppose DeVito's is wildly violent as well. And I enjoyed all that. I thought that was really well done. Alfred, I was just like, okay, this is a different version of Alfred. The only one that I thought felt flat was Harley, Dr. Harley Quinzel. I thought that one was like, okay.
Why did you think that Harley fell flat?
Maybe because I'm so used to the goofiness, the craziness of the other Harley, and
this Harley was very muted,
very direct. I thought she was just less interesting. And again, everybody needs to have space with which they can create something, because you don't know if something new can be beautiful unless it's created. Mm-hmm. But I felt like that was a comparison too much, where I was just like, hey, I don't like this one as much. I think she is less interesting.
And I disagree with you, so I'll say my point, and then Phoenix, you can jump in and with where you are on the spectrum. I actually really like the portrayal of Harley Quinn. They leaned more into her as Dr. Harley Quinzel. She was integrated into the show at a very early point and had a strong relationship with Barbara Gordon. And then eventually the episode flips and you see the dark side of Harley Quinn and how she is using her position of power to trap bad people that she views as bad, and how she is punishing them for their actions. And I actually thought it was really interesting, less aesthetically pleasing than particularly like the Arkham series. So like the look was one thing to get over, but I really appreciated how Harley set up her shtick and how she captured her victims, and thinking of how close Bruce Wayne was to falling into that. I'm like, oh man, he was right on the razor's edge. Like, if he had agreed to more sessions, he's going to be in one of those cages too. So I actually thought that Harley was really interesting. Feeny, Harley is one of your favorite characters in media. I've been saying that a lot, but it's Batman, it's Harley. So like, what do you think of this portrayal of one of your favorite characters?
Well, when I originally first saw it, I was kind of like, surprised that they were introducing her so quickly as the Doctor, and her background story. I can't remember. Do you know when they made her a doctor? Because with the animated series, they just threw her in as the
She was just the sidekick. I don't know if they initially made her a psychiatrist at Arkham or if that came out later. I'm pretty sure, because they thought she was going to be a one-off, and she wound up lasting longer. So I think when she first showed up, I think she was just like almost like just a henchwoman.
Yeah, she was. And when the episode I caught, she was just there and she was helping the Joker. And so I know as her character goes on through the media, she's a psychiatrist. So it was interesting to have it start right away as her being a doctor. And I thought the story was interesting and intriguing, how she worked her magic, or the way she is with the billionaires. And then when she switched, the way her tone switched when she was with the men that she had captured. And she made them basically her minions, and they would do anything for her. And so I thought it gave it an interesting story, and it would be very fascinating to see how they connect the dots with her and the Joker later. So the style and everything, it's hard to look past of the Harley that I love in the video games and the animated series to what is in this show. But it has me very curious to see how they integrate it all later. So
I think that's interesting as well, just to the thing that, again, what they don't, what Phoenix is alluding to and why it's going to be different to see how she maybe reacts to Joker. Harley is a lesbian. She's part of the LGBTQ plus community in this particular telling of Gotham. So we've always kind of known Harley as this toxic, she is toxic, but so is Joker, this toxic relationship that they have. And in this particular version, we know that that's likely a thread that's not going to be there. And that's sometimes kind of a defining quality of how she operates. So it'll be interesting to see what do they add to, not make up for that, but what do they add to create more avenue for growth or interest for the character?
That's the thing, because, everyone knows Harley and Joker together as a couple. But you and I have really enjoyed Harley Quinn, the animated series, with her and Poison Ivy together. They bring that whole storyline together. So it'll be really interesting to see if they have her partner with the Joker in the sense as a lover, or if, because they've already started the storyline of her being more of that into women, we'll see how they play that out later. But it was fascinating to have her do it with, I wish I could remember her name.
The detective
Mendoza. Because she's always in a lot of the earlier animated, because she's in the animated series in the first season. The other series that I love, she's in that a lot as well. So I know she's a rudimentary character. I don't know if I've seen her in any of the live action movies, though.
I don't know if Mendoza started with the original animated. I know Bullock did, I think.
She's a underling. I can't remember. It was the Fire episodes, and she had to retell her storyline, and Bullock was saying, no, it was this way, and it was the conflicting views. Yep. They don't use her as much as some of the series I've seen, but yeah. So it was interesting to have those two come together early on, and it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. So,
in a similar vein, one stylistic choice they made with this show was to desexualize female characters. I don't know what the animated series did with female characters, but typically in Batman media, every female, particularly villains, are dressed like superhero characters. Big bust, skinny waist, very tight clothing. In this show, like, it's more realistic and more androgynous kind of body proportions. Did that impact your feelings towards any of the characters? Did that impact the way that you perceive them? Because Harley, for example, like in the Arkham series, is one of the hottest characters. Like, she's just like a Barbie doll, put together like a Barbie doll. In this show, she's much more subdued.
I guess most of my thoughts of like Harley come from the animated. Like, that's why when in Arkham and stuff, when she's kind of like the queen of trash, I was just like, well, that just seems overtly unneeded. And sometimes I feel like with some of these, you know, superheroines or supervillains, their superpowers that fit that figure into their suits. So I don't understand. And it's a male gaze thing. I'm sure it is. It's just that doesn't always do it for me. That said, they had a lot of different body types represented, particularly Mendoza.
Yeah.
Harley was definitely built very differently. And to be honest, until you brought it up, I didn't even think about it. Because like in the animated series, the only one that's a little bit more provocative, I mean, even Catwoman to a degree, but she's like covered from neck to ankle. And Poison Ivy does have a little bit more of a reveal to her, but that allure, the charisma of her is part of it, that siren thing. But they really didn't play that up heavily in the old one either.
Yeah, with it being on WB, I think they had to minimize how much they do. Where I think with the video games, they're like, okay, we can do what we want. We can,
and we're catering to a teenage male Tom right here.
Sure.
And
for reference, like, that is my entire frame of Harley Quinn reference. Like, I know her from the game series.
Where like this, because they're doing that noir, they have them in the style of clothes that was worn in that time period. So it's cool that they stuck to what the history would show if it was happening at that time. So I thought the representation was great. I think all the characters were drawn in the way of their ethnicity is the typical. So, you know, but I think it was all well put together. Nothing stood out. Didn't seem awkward or...
One character that I hated with a burning fiery passion was the nameless assassin dude.
That's Bullseye, isn't it?
Is it Bullseye?
I think so.
Oh, I don't know. All he did was like make his little catchphrase noises.
It was comic book sounds. Bam!
Yeah,
Poof! Like, I was just like, what the going on?
And like, it set up the final joke with Batman really, really well, but it's like, that dude just irritated me. I thought it was interesting that the show tried to make most of the villains very empathetic, and I thought they really nailed it with Selina. Like, I really like the Catwoman episode. Phoenix, I know you have an affinity for her costume because it harkens back to like the old style Batman portrayal.
When I was looking at the original comic books, it's like, oh, she's in a dress, and because we got a kid's book of DC characters, and I was like, Catwoman in a purple dress? And so looking back at the old comics, it's like, oh, they drew her in a dress instead of that suit that we're all used to. But I think it's nice to have those touches come back. If anyone is familiar or loves the originals, it's fun homage to that. So, but the characters, that was one of the complaints that people had online, was that Batman always seemed to take a back seat. They focused too much on the other characters.
Well, Batman's going to have like multiple series to shine. Like, these characters each had like one episode, and like, I thought that those characters were really great. Like, Catwoman was tragic, and I was heartbroken for her because like her dad's in jail. She gets betrayed by her maid, who she relied on as a servant. She is out of her depth. Like, she got arrested, and like she was not in the same par as like a supervillain that we might associate with a superhero comic. And I thought that was really interesting how she was portrayed. And then the Clayface episode, like, they should have given him like a 3-episode arc. Like, that was fantastic. And like the mystery there with him impersonating the different people and Batman trying to figure out the different pieces and stumbling across the bodies. And like, I don't know, I really enjoyed the way that they took or made changes to the original formula. And outside of the nameless assassin dude, maybe Bullseye, like, I really liked what they did with characters.
I thought the Clayface in the original was really good too, and that's Ron Perlman, which I didn't know at that time. The Clayface himself was again really tragic. He, again, wildly talented, didn't have the right face, fell in love with a woman, and goes to these extremes for her, and loses everything in the process. And by the way, that his costume when he was actually being Clayface, that looked like the Shadow to me. Yes. It's the trench coat, it's the red scarf around the neck, timeline's about right. I was like, if this isn't a nod to the Shadow, I don't know what this is. But Clayface was, and we talked about this about the other animated series. Even with Catwoman, I dislike maybe the backflip and the heels. The heel is just like, how is she doing this stuff in her suit? Which, suspension of belief, Brian, just let that go. But that said, like, it's these characters where we understand, it's like, I get how you got here. Now where do you go? And it's heartbreaking because you can just see they're destroying themselves trying to find a way out of it. And I think that's okay that Batman takes a backseat to that, because like you said, we've got one shot to establish these guys, because most of them will be back in some way or form, and Batman has this huge timeline with which to develop more of what he is, because he's in every single episode. So I think highlighting the rogue gallery, which is in most cases where the true interest is, why not?
Yeah, I mean, you have such a wealth of rogue gallery, the characters and stuff, where, like, I was just thinking about it as we were talking, but like you talk about, you don't want to see Peter Parker bitten by a spider.
And like, I love Spider-Man. I love Spider-Man. He's my favorite character. And like, I've seen Peter Parker get bitten by a spider enough times on the big screen. Like, I get it. We all get it. He's bitten by a spider and he gets his powers. All right, give me Doc Ock. Give me Venom. Give me like the bad guys. And
we all understand how Batman chose his path, how he becomes in ways, why he decides to become Batman. So I say they did a great job with trying to come up with a new style of telling each character's story and to build a background, so it's not like, oh, here's Penguin. We sort of know it. Just give a different type of twist to it to engage us more, give us a little bit different view on that character. And I think with the animated series, they created their own stories for a lot of those characters too, that were a little different from the comic books. So I'm fine with him taking a backseat too, because it's like we need to have these characters to be well-rounded instead of these like just show up and do something and leave. So,
just show up, get punched, and see you next week.
So,
I appreciate we exist in a time where we're skipping all the origin stories. The Spider-Man video game, he's been doing it for a while. We're not having to watch him get bitten. Or in Batman, yes, we get the one episode showing flashbacks of what happened, but he's been doing this for a while. We know that. So now, but with the villains, I think it is useful to sometimes get their backstory, because not everybody understands how they came to be.
Yes.
And you can create a kind of another piece of tragedy to that. So I'm happy that we're kind of just jumping into things where, we're already kind of in the swing of things. Let's not go back to step one.
And it's nice that they're bringing in some lesser known ones, because, they could have started with Bane. They could have started with...
There's no Poison Ivy in the first season?
Yeah, no Poison Ivy, who was big. And then I was trying to remember the other one. It was just on top of my head. But you have some big characters yet to come in. Scarecrow. We didn't see Scarecrow yet. So it's nice that they brought in Firebug, was it? And some other characters that we might not recognize instantaneously.
Which, spoiler, that was the first time I was like, this is violent. They gun down Firebug, in the chest.
Yes.
They just shoot him to death. I was like, I didn't see that as the outcome. Like, that's what I was like, this is different.
Yeah. So it'll be fascinating to see how they retell, like, the Joker, because there's different ways to tell it, and Bane and stuff. So,
well, Phoenix, which one character stood out most to you?
Oh, that's a tough one. As far as storylines, I think Clayface was interesting the way they told his story, and because it had sort of that mystery detective of her walking around, and it reminded me of the noir, going and asking questions and trying to, figure out the truth. And you see her character knowing that she will always stick to her guns to find the truth, no matter if it's...
Her being Mendoza.
Even though it's the wrong question to ask, she will figure it out. And then you have the other two cops.
Bullock and what's his name?
Fritz? I can't remember.
It's like Fritz
Flash?
or something.
Yeah. So it's just, I really enjoyed that episode a lot. So Clayface was a very fascinating story for me.
So, okay. And I'm going to start this. I'm going to say what mine is, and then I want to know what you didn't like about it. I really, really liked the Harvey Dent Two-Face. I loved Harvey's kind of this arrogant, overly confident. He has some morals initially, and then as he kind of starts to realize that he's slipping in certain areas.
Well, he's falling behind in the mayoral race, and that's a big deal to him because he thinks he can make a bigger impact if he's the mayor as opposed to the district attorney. He falls behind in the polls, and then what happens?
And he gets offered a bribe, and the first thing he does, he shuts it down. He's like, "No, we're not going to do this." He's like, "That's how we got here." And then as he starts to slip, he takes a little morally vague steps, starts to use some of the assets that are maybe more on the dirty side of things. And eventually he gets to the point where he's attacked due to these things. He winds up actually having almost like a redemption arc there, going, "Hey, he's an attorney prosecutor, or sorry, he's a criminal
District
prosecutor."
attorney, yeah.
Thank you. And so he winds up putting someone in jail who they thought they were going to let off. That was kind of part of the deal, and that's how he gets damaged. And then you watch his psyche break, which I thought that was one of the best representations of watching Harvey Dent fall into what he did.
And I think it was interesting in this show because it was a multi-episode setup. Most of the episodes feature one villain and you get their thing and then they're kind of out of the show. But Harvey Dent was in the show from the first episode, popping in and out here and there, and then he gets a multi-episode arc towards the end of the season.
Yeah, and he had in all of those little things, like that's why when we're like, well, where would we start people? You can't start them on those too because you need all of those little pieces of Harvey's storyline in the prior ones to make sense of how he got to where he is. But to watch him break, to watch him realize he's losing control, this other part of him is taking over, the violence is becoming something. We watch him gun people down, and like he realizes, I need to be arrested, I need to be taken away, I need to be kept somewhere else to protect people. I thought that was one of the most well-rounded versions of Harvey Dent to Two-Face I've seen, and I loved it because of it. So where was that kind of a shortcoming for you?
I think everything you guys said is true. I like the story arc and him trying to have his morals still be there when he loses half his face, but the switch was the hardest for me. I didn't see enough of the other half of him when he was, for him to completely switch to be dark was a little too quick for me,
I can see that.
But that's the only thing I had trouble with is just, because the animated series, I like how they explained it with him with battling his two personalities since he was young, where I felt like it was just a little too quick of a switch, and I guess that's my only issue with it.
In the similar vein, like I think a lot of people, Revenge of the Sith gets crapped on by a lot of people, but it's one of my favorite because I love watching Anakin get evil. It is slow and understood how this happens. It was never, had it been rushed, I'd probably hate it, but to watch him just slowly lose ground until he's murdering children, and you can see like, oh, I understand how we got here. So that makes sense, though. Yeah,
so that's my only thing. I mean, as far as the whole story arc, especially the last episode with him, I think it's well done, and the surprise ending, but it's like I didn't realize they would go that far with it, but, I don't know if we're spoiling it, but...
no, we don't need to spoil it.
But, yeah, so, I mean, that was the hardest part for me. It was just that quick, darker side there already. But when he became dark, and I could, they did a good job with that, so...
I think it's interesting in our discussion of characters that you both chose villains.
Well, I was just going to bring up Barbara Gordon.
Yeah, and I was going to bring her up because you didn't bring her up.
I was thinking, how do I bring her up? But yeah, no, Barbara Gordon, I think I've always liked Batgirl. And, they've had her as a young thing, an older thing. I know in some of the original comic books, she's in college or older, so I like that they have her as an established person who knows how to handle a gun, who knows how to handle herself because her father is a policeman, so of course he taught her how to defend herself. And so I truly like the change that they made with her, making her strong. And it was very interesting to have her be an attorney too. So it's like
criminal defense attorney,
yeah.
which I think is a great little piece.
I guess the other part is because, you know, in the comic book, she becomes Oracle. But because this is done in the 40s, you know, we don't have computers. So I don't know if that was a conscious choice of trying to give her a career like a defense attorney, or just to have her talk with Harvey Dent. I don't know.
I think her and her dad deal with two sides of the justice system,
yes,
right?
that whole debate
that's
between
what
them.
I really like, because like dad is like, well, this is how it works and this is how we're going to do it, and which I think is kind of funny because like Bullock is clearly corrupt and doing illegal things, and Gordon's like, well, I better watch him, and it's like, well, dude, he's shooting people and he's not supposed to. And then she's got the other side where she's like, look, there's corruption in the system, and she's like, I'm dealing with this in a different way.
Yeah, I enjoyed that episode a lot, the debate between them at the court step after.
Absolutely.
You know, it's like, it's fun to have them be able to talk about some of those questions between those two characters. So
There's an entire episode that deals with a hit being put out on a Gordon, and it leaves you to believe that it's Commissioner Gordon, because like he is traditionally the more important character as like the male head of the police force. The twist in the episode that it's actually targeting Barbara. Phoenix, I know that episode stands out with you. Why do you think that had such an impact for you?
Well, because again, what we talked about with Batman going into the prison to get the information, showing how far he'll go to get the information, and then just her strength coming through in that episode. Just she's resilient, she's strong, and she will do anything to help someone. And so, and the twist at the end, her being the target, was, I didn't see it coming. So
Yeah, I didn't see it coming either.
So that was what intrigued me a lot too. So, but
one thing I appreciated about Barbara and her relationship with Batman was that it's essentially the same way that we courted. Like, she's just sitting at her desk working, and then all of a sudden he's there. And then, like, mid-sentence, he's gone again. And, like, it made me feel like us.
After he drops off his phone number.
Well, I find it interesting, like, how they're switching it to be her that he's, you know, touching base with before Gordon, Commissioner, her father. You know, he's showing up, and it'll be... Didn't she make a comment, like, was she at a late or something? Or when he finally gave her the phone number, which is so funny, because it's like... I don't know if they ever use phone numbers in any of the movies or but...
Because she goes, she's like, you have a phone number?
Well, maybe I should have a way to contact you, and he starts reading off
She's like, I thought I would have to turn on a blue light.
Yes, that's what
it was.
A blue light in the window. Yeah, it was good stuff, and their relationship was really interesting. I think one of the themes throughout the show is that Batman is probing to see who he can trust, who is a good person, who's corrupt, and I don't think that he makes his mind up on Commissioner Gordon nearly as quickly as he does about Barbara Gordon.
No.
So they bond much earlier in the show.
And at the end, he talks about, he's like, well, there's four of us, right?
Yes.
He talks about the four. So him, the two Gordons, and who was the fourth? Mendoza. There you go. Thank you. And I think that is, when we talk about, well, he's this brooding, isolated man, I think that's where the opening is. He's like, well, there's four of us, and he says it definitively.
Yeah.
That cuts out Alfred. That's kind of selling my man
I
short.
think they have a moment at the end of the episode too, him and Alfred.
And he calls
they
him
do.
Alfred, not Mr. Pennyworth.
Yeah.
Or Pennyworth.
Yeah, and that was tied to a moment earlier in the series where he's talking with Lucius, and Lucius is like, you got to treat the help like people, man. Like,
Yep.
and it's not that hard to do, and so it was nice to see Batman make that small concession at the end of the show.
And watching Pennyworth push back on what he was doing with Harvey. He's like, look, this is a damaged man. He's like, who you remember is not who this is. And he's like, you have to understand that. And he doesn't have an answer to it.
Yeah, that was well done between the two.
Mm-hmm.
I was just going to ask quickly, how do you guys feel about the supernatural already being introduced? Because it is in some of the comics and different things, but with the ghost.
Yep, I was surprised. Because I was just like, oh, this is just going to be some guy with a weird teleportation belt or something.
Yeah, it's going to be, Mysterio.
Yeah,
Mysterio's crossing over.
And then they're like, oh, no, it's a straight ghost that hates poor people. And I'm like, well, that's really relevant for the time period that Ghost existed. Oh, they're below me. And I liked that episode actually quite a bit, but I was very surprised that it was actually a ghost, because he's like, this isn't, so-and-so, because they look up the coat of arms. They realize it's a family that founded Gotham. And they're like...
And so, like, clearly it's going to be like that last ancestor that's selling the house,
100%,
right?
Yeah, that's when he walked in. I'm like, this is predictable as can be. And then he's like, the first thing I'm going to do is tear down this house. And he's like, please do. And they're like running out. But the fact that it turns out it actually is a ghost. And I was like, oh, I guess I didn't really expect that.
Initially, I disliked that episode. I just had a hard time that Batman was fighting a freaking real ghost. It's like, I appreciated that it wasn't just the ancestor. And I thought that was an interesting twist. Looking back, like, it's a lot more fun to talk about it than when we were actually watching it. Maybe I was still put off from the Assassin episode, which I think was the one right before. Like, I viewed these two as kind of a lull in the entire series.
Okay. Well, and I was also thinking about the girl with her super strength. She absorbs.
No, she was awesome.
The
You like
vampire,
that?
essentially,
Yeah.
yeah.
Was it like a vamp? Yeah. So
Well, it was Wednesday Addams as a vampire.
yes, it's true. She had a Wednesday look, but I just found it interesting that they're really willing to start bringing those elements in because, you know, with the DC world, you have Constantine, who I would love to watch more of his stuff.
Oh, God, please make another movie.
Yes, I know.
Like another Keanu movie or another anime movie?
Absolutely. There's been discussions for a while that is something that is cleared. And I watched Constantine once a year. I
Really?
love that movie. It's so well done. I forget how old it is until I see how young Shia LaBeouf is. And then I'm like, oh, yeah, I forgot. This was made 1 billion years ago.
Well, have you watched any of the animated movies with him?
Nope.
Yeah, they're good.
You really enjoy them.
Yeah, there's the one that I started, haven't finished, but I can't find it anymore. But
And we watched the Dark Justice League, where
that was
that was really good too.
But it's, you know, you got the 40s and 50s. Usually they will try to explain things away, like Scooby-Doo or something. But I thought it was interesting that they kept it supernatural, unexplainable. But
Even within more recent Batman adaptations, like it's almost always grounded in some form of reality. So to deal with the straight up supernatural, that is interesting. I'm glad you brought that up.
yeah, so I was just curious what you guys thought with them already touching on it.
My favorite part is just kind of the ridiculousness of it. The fact that he is like he won't rob rich people. At one point, Harvey Dent offers his money. He's like, "No, you look like a cultured man," and then he starts like stealing from the poor people.
Yeah.
And at one point, he's fighting with Batman. He's like, "Oh, you were raised properly. It looks like I will leave." It's just like, okay.
Yeah, but the Wednesday character that story was fascinating,
And sad.
and complex, and it'd be interesting to see where she's going to end up. Is she going to come back because she's in the hospital?
Yeah, she lived, right?
Yep, she lived, and so is she going to become a villain or is she going to be something else? You know?
Oh, she's a villain.
So,
There's no redemption for the little girl stealing souls, honey.
okay.
Well, let's move on to the overall format. Generally speaking, the show is a rogues gallery with a different villain each episode, with one notable exception. Batman has one of the best villain rosters in comics. Did the Caped Crusader make good use of his entire cast of villains, or were there villains that you wish had gotten more attention?
They teased the Joker, so I think that's great. I also think I really like the fact that I appreciate maybe that they didn't have him. I think that would have been maybe too easy to do out of the gates, and now it gives us something to look forward to for the second season.
And we talked about this earlier, but like 4 of the most iconic characters, Joker, Scarecrow, Bane, Poison Ivy, not in this series at all.
I don't think Bane can come this early. Bane can't come in season 1. I don't even think Bane can come in season 2. Bane is
Does he need to get dick first too?
He does. Bane is this indomitable thing, kind of like Raj Al Ghul, who is someone who I really enjoy, and I'm looking forward to him being in it too. Bane is one of the few people that can match Batman mentally, and outmatch him physically. So I think Bane is, to be honest, like particularly in the comics when he breaks Batman's back, Bane is the first character.
We referenced that in the read. That was like when I was
absolutely.
talking about,
There you go. Bane is the first character that pushes Batman to an absolute limit. Joker can do it through his sadism, and that's a different kind of thing that he does to Batman. Bane is everything Batman is, and in some cases a more powerful version of it. And because of that, I don't think you can have that kind of test in season 1. You can't have that kind of test in season 2. It needs to be where we've really kind of understood what is Batman capable of. And then we get this force that comes in and goes, oh, wait a minute, you're diminutive compared to what it is. And I think that needs to wait. Raj Al Ghul, also, who I love, I think we got to wait on that anyways too, just because he is someone who, I don't know if they're going to introduce the love interest there either, Raj's daughter. So we're going to kind of have to see how that works, because they were in the animated series too. They were in love. Damien comes from her.
comes from them.
From them. But it'll be interesting who they add, because they have lots of people that they can choose from.
Oh yeah, no, they have so many characters, and it'll be interesting how they piece it all out?
Well, for season 1, they brought in some B and C tier dudes like Firebug and Ghost Dude and Vampire Wednesday Addams. So
Firebug was just a tool, though. They used Firebug in an effort to do what they want to do. Firebug wasn't really a main villain.
Yeah.
He was the most expendable human resource they could find, and that's what they used him for. And he's sad. Like, that's also really sad, because they're like, well, we can kill you off and no one will care, and they'll let us do whatever we want. And they do that, and I was just, I mean, that's not a villain, that's a victim.
So let me reframe the question this way. Do you appreciate that there's iconic characters waiting down the line?
I think so.
But what if the show had been canceled and, like, we never got to see this version of Batman with the Joker?
That's a good question. I like it as a whole. I was surprised it was only 10 episodes, and so if that was all we got, I enjoyed a new, refreshed take on it, and not getting the Joker is fine, because those are big shoes to fill, and it'll be interesting to see how well they fill those shoes with the Joker. So I think, like you said...
What if the joke is that they just tease us at the end of the 10th episode every season with another Joker thing and never actually bring him to the show?
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. I mean... It'll be fascinating to see how they explain his story and what that character looks like, because with Harley being a bit different than who she is that we know of, like, how different are they going to make the Joker and the way he acts and the way he does things? Because, you know, in the animated series, he comes up with these crazy things, you know. That one episode where the guy was upset and hits his car, and the Joker just follows him everywhere, and then the guy has to owe him a favor later, and the crazy fish in the water. It'll be interesting to see what they do with this Joker, how dark they make him, how villainous, you know. Do they make him slightly silly, or do they make him completely dark, you know?
And how do you follow what Mark Hamill did?
Yeah.
Like, as much as Kevin Conroy was a challenge, so is going to be the Joker, and they're going to have to add some nuance that was not there in the first one to make it separate, I think, because if you're trying to do a 1-to-1, I don't think that's the best way to approach this, because you're going to run into a mountain.
I think so, yeah. So I like what they did, and I'm just really excited to see what they do with the second season.
Well, the show is 10 episodes long. Did it keep you engaged through all 10 episodes? Were there any lulls in this run of show?
It kept me engaged. I know there's an episode here or there that, you know, they had to fill in somehow. Like any series, you're going to have some lulls, and not all 10 are going to be gems, but at least you have some strong episodes that stick with you. So,
and I'll give my opinion next, Brian, and then you can respond to it. I thought the show was outstanding at first. Like, the first couple episodes, you get the Penguin, you get Clayface. I'm like, this show is freaking awesome. Then we hit, like, the Ghost and the Assassin and Wednesday Addams, like, back to back to back. And I'm like, oh, that's a little bit of a lull. But then that final storyline with Harvey over the last couple episodes, I'm like, oh, yeah, this show was super rad. So, like, that was kind of my roller coaster. I thought it started and ended really high and just had a little bit of dip with a couple of consecutive episodes.
I didn't view the Ghost as a lull because of just the ridiculousness of that character. I was just like, you're great. The Wednesday Addams as a vampire, that one I was just like, whatever.
I did kind of like that episode, though. Like, the fact that she was luring in kids and, like, stealing their souls, I'm like, oh, that is dark, man. Like,
it is. And the fact that she wants to die at the end. She's on her knees waiting for death. I'm just like, good God, this stuff is dark at moments. Mm-hmm. I did find the Gordon hit episode, outside of, like, again, seeing Batman get his hands dirty, I kind of had the idea of what was happening. I kind of already knew who might be close to the Gordon traitor. I mean, that was pretty clear, I think, for everybody. And to be honest, that, again, we've been calling him Bullseye, whatever he is. I thought he was really boring. And I think that episode was kind of the big lull for me.
So nine highs for Brian and 1 low.
I just thought of it, talking about the Wednesday episode. How did you guys feel with Bruce Wayne when he gets attacked by the circus people?
And gets his butt kicked?
He gets his butt kicked. He doesn't allow himself to shift at all to take down the people, even though he probably could have. He gets a little revenge later. He does, but it's like he allows himself to get beat up and tossed in.
And that's a really interesting point. And, like, how Bruce Wayne is trapped, because, like, Bruce Wayne can't, like, just kick a bunch of people's butts like out in the open, so he just had to take it on the chin. That's an interesting point that you brought up.
Because I think there's been incidences in other episodes and other medias of Batman. It's like if he gets caught as Bruce Wayne, he sneaks out somehow or figures something out. Where this one, he's just like he took it on the chin and got knocked out and just woke up in the water. You know?
There's an episode of the old one called Night of the Ninja, I think is what it's called. Watch that episode.
Is that the one in Japan?
It shows where he learned his combat abilities, and I think you'll kind of, if you like that nuance of him understanding when he's Bruce Wayne, he's got to stay Bruce Wayne. You'll like that episode.
I watched it. I'm trying to remember what you're talking about.
Yeah, but basically, the short version of it is when he is Bruce Wayne, he's getting absolutely wailed on.
Oh, yeah,
and it takes Robin
right.
helping him by blinding the witness.
That's right.
That he's able to snap into his other mode. But like he knows that if he's being watched, he cannot do what he needs to do.
I forgot about that because they did do that because he's just getting beat up and the reporter's right there tied up and Robin blinds her.
So it sounds like, generally speaking, we're all really positive on the show. Maybe it doesn't capture the highs of the original animated series, but this is a different place and a different time. There's a lot to enjoy with Batman the Caped Crusader. If you were introducing someone to this series with just one episode, which one would you pick?
You want to go first? Me too.
No, you can. I'm trying to think.
I think the Harvey Dent episodes are the best. The problem is that you need all the other episodes and the threads that are in them about Harvey to understand why it's the best. So to be honest, the first episode with Oswalda, the penguin, I think that's a fantastic place to start. You get an idea of what Batman's like. You get an idea what Bruce Wayne is like. The fact that her ship has a howitzer cannon that nobody's noticing is firing off rounds in the middle of Gotham Harbor and blowing up buildings. And they're like, how is this happening? But and out of the gates, she just shows you how much darker this series is when Batman's swimming underneath. And she kills her kids, if they are her true children. But they refer to her as mom. I have to assume that they are. She puts them in a safe and drowns them. And then when he's swimming, you see 40, 50 bodies that are dead.
That was a really fun little touch with that scene.
You just see all of this destruction. I'm like, this is different. And I thought as far as starter episodes go, if I had to choose an episode to start the series with, I would have chosen that one anyway. So I think they did a great job out of the gates.
I agree with Brian because I'm just thinking about it when I first watched the series and that episode was done. I'm like, oh my gosh, this whole thing is going to be awesome, and I can't wait to watch the rest of them. I think they did a good job of just putting a lot of elements into that episode to introduce characters like Barbara, how strong she is with, she has one of the brothers in her car and she's being chased and shooting the wheels out and stuff. I think it's a strong episode that introduces a lot of the characters that we come to know later on.
And they're doing it in 25 minutes.
Yes, I know.
That's the hard part. These are 25-minute episodes, so that's so much stuff they have to compress, and it still turned out great.
I'm going to go in a radically different direction from you guys. I'm going to choose episode 2 with Clayface.
Oh, interesting.
I like the investigation like we talked about earlier, and I thought that Clayface as the villain was just fantastic, and I really loved that episode. It was probably my favorite from the series, so I would have chosen the Clayface episode, but I agree with you guys that number 1 is also outstanding.
Well, and also the shock of them changing characters. They do it right away instead of saying, 3 episodes in, Penguin's a woman. They just hit you right away with this change so that you know what you're going in and what's going to be different with the series. So.
If you liked that Clayface episode, it's a 2-part episode for the original one. It's certainly worth your time. And I got to go back to watch it because I remember how Clayface is defeated, and I remember that being as a kid, I'm like, this is like brutal to watch. But I didn't know who Ron Perlman was at that time.
Yeah. And
I have not seen it since I now know that's him. So I really want to see what he does to bring the character forward.
Yeah, we'll see if I ever go back and watch the original animated series.
I don't go through all of them, but there's definitely a couple episodes that are worth the watch. I would say that 2-parter is certainly worth it.
I was going to have you watch it before we did this, but we got delayed with a lot of stuff. But the Clayface 2-parter, the actor 2-parter with Adam West in it, and then Harvey Dent was the other one I wanted to share with you.
So now here's the plan. We'll get together for an evening. We'll put the kids down. We'll have a couple drinks. We'll watch a select portion of Batman the Animated Series, and then we'll watch Borderlands.
There you go. Yeah, I will make that deal. If you give me the appetizer up front, probably the dessert up front, and then you and I will sit through the reheated steak. We'll see how this goes.
Yeah, and then we'll play all of Tales to the Borderlands together. It'll be great.
God.
Batman: The Caped Crusader has been renewed for a second season. If you guys could bring one Batman villain into season 2, who would it be?
Phoenix, you get to go first for this one. I'm going to think about this a little more.
Poison Ivy!
I don't know why, but I'm really curious about Scarecrow. Because of all his...
Well, you have an affinity for Scarecrow. I know that you really enjoyed him in, was it Dark Knight Rises?
It was Dark Knight Rises, or the first one, where I never really glommed onto Scarecrow, but for some reason the Christian Bale is like, it's interesting and unique, but I don't know, he's not quite like what the Joker does, but he uses mind tricks and different things, so I'm kind of curious on what they're going to play with Scarecrow. So
yeah, for me it's Poison Ivy. I love Poison Ivy, and like that's just been rekindled by the Harley Quinn animated series. Like, I think Poison Ivy is great, and I can't wait until she exists in this show.
Ra's al Ghul, I think. Like I said, Bane would be the other one I want to see, but Bane needs a long runway before we can bring him in due to the factors that we talked about. I always enjoyed Ra's al Ghul because he is just this crazy ancient mind. And I love that he never, in the animated series, the original, I don't know if he does in the comics, but he never refers to him as Batman. He always refers to him as Detective. That's the only way that he addresses him. Detective.
Fascinating.
Yeah, because he views Bruce as one of the few that he's ever encountered in, like, because he's lived hundreds of years, that has a mind that is capable of dealing with the current world. So I love that kind of dichotomy.
Do you think that Bane will get like the Harvey Dent treatment where he's planted early in a season and then becomes like the season-ending arc?
I think season 2 is going to be all Joker. I think the end of season 2, if I had to guess, is going to be the culmination of the fight between Joker and Batman. I
wonder if they're going to do a take on the Killing Joke if that's the case.
Maybe something like that. And if they wind up doing that, that'll kind of end the Batwoman thought process. But that said, like, I think Bane will be something where that is the capstone of the season. So I don't think it's season 2, maybe it's season 3. Because I think the Joker, being is what the Joker is, because the Joker is bigger than Bane, right? That's no question. I think Joker needs a full season of Joker.
We're 10 seasons of Joker.
Well, I wonder when they'll introduce Richard. You know, the whole storyline of him. And
Richard?
Don't be a dick.
It'll be just interesting how they'll play that storyline.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you guys, like,
bring it on early, because this is not a loving Batman. This is not someone who's going to take an orphan into his home.
Well, I think that's the thing with the original comic books, because bringing the boy into his house changes him drastically too. So,
I mean, that's a metaphor for life. Like, having kids does change a person.
Yes, it does. Yeah, so it'd be interesting to see how soon they bring him into the storyline.
And with the tone of this show, like, are they going to kill Robbins? Like, is that going to be on the table? Just curious if they're going to, like, have the stones to kill off sidekicks.
Yeah, because Tim, he was the one that becomes Red Hood, right? Mm-hmm. So it'd be interesting because he was second.
Yeah, because it goes Dick, Tim, and then is Damien the third or the fourth?
Maybe the fourth.
I think Damien's the fourth. Todd's the one that gets killed.
Oh yeah, he dies.
Because it was a vote and nobody liked Todd. So when the vote came back, kill Todd. They were like, okay. So a canon moment in DC was born because fans are trolly ever since the dawn of trolling.
Yeah, I mean with Richard, it's like, do they have him as a young boy or do they have him older? Because they have Barbara Gordon older. So do they introduce him as an older person or as a young kid again? Or it'll be interesting to see.
I wonder if it'll be season 2 or if it's going to be further down the line, because you have to imagine his team's going to keep expanding, right?
You would have to. I mean,
and if I could lay one last thing, the fact that I'm looking at the animated Batman, I've been doing this the entire thing, which is this is on Tom and Phoenix's shelf. I don't know if you caught it, Phoenix, at the end of the last episode when I think it's Richard Thorne is sitting in his apartment. Batman throws a batarang through his window and cuts his cheek. Yeah. Batman's standing on the building with, chest out, arms back, and the lightning hits behind him, and that's the end of the intro for the original 90s. If you remember,
yes, that's right.
That moment caught me, and I'm just like, man, I think that's from something. And then I watched the Grey Ghost episode, and that's the end of the intro, and I'm like, okay. I'm like, I love that kind of a throwback.
That's interesting. Batman has appeared in comics, movies, games, and TV for nearly a century. Does Batman Caped Crusader earn a place among the better Batman adaptations?
If there's a Mendoza line, and I don't know where that Mendoza line would maybe be for this. Maybe, I mean, Batman Returns maybe is my Mendoza line, because it's not a great movie, but it's a movie I still enjoy. I think that it is at the very least, it's equal to that. And
which one is Returns? Is that the second Keaton?
Yeah, when Batman is like actively killing people. When I'm like, okay, all right.
DeVito and Catwoman are the villains.
Correct. And I still, it's not a great Batman movie, but I still enjoy it. It's still better than Kilmer's. It's certainly still better than what Clooney did. And in fact, they had to take a break from Batman because Clooney's version just was so rough.
Yeah.
But I think it is above that line. I think it's got a place. It adds. That's what we need to talk about. It adds to the Batman lore. And I think there's a place for it because it adds. It doesn't just try to ride on what has already been done. And I think that's where we start to run into problems with some of the Batman medium. That they go, well, these 8 or 9 things were popular. Let's just do them and like see if we can make this work. And they don't. You need to bring something that hasn't been done, which is hard.
It is.
In a character that's been existing for how long?
Like 100 years or more?
Oh my God. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I think it adds, and I think it's nice to get a darker, grittier version. Like with the new Robert Pattinson, we're getting a darker, grittier version. And those comic books, they can go dark. I mean, like the Frank Miller ones.
Oh, Miller, so good.
It's just the Killing Joke. They can be dark storylines, and a lot of people think DC, the animated series are not quite that dark, but Superman is so bright and shiny. It's nice to have something that can be more noirish and dark and deal with like hard questions about humanity in a sense. So I think it adds to it. It gives it a new twist. And we didn't really bring it up, but the guys who are directing or producing it is J.J. Abrams, who did Alias, rebooted Star Trek. He's doing this Batman.
Star Wars.
Yeah, Star Wars too. And then the guy who is doing the new Batman movies, he's the headlining of this series. So it's interesting to have those two guys come together to create this. And maybe that's why it's doing well, the rewriting of the characters and everything, because they're the head of the project to keep an eye.
They're so smart about, Abrams particularly, they're so smart about trying to pull threads of understanding why is this loved.
Yeah.
And then understanding that and being mindful of being a good caretaker of it.
Yeah.
And they really did it. And I can be really critical on some of that stuff, and they did it.
I think so.
Yeah. Batman Caped Crusader, pretty good. Stands as its own thing within the Batman universe. That does it for our discussion of Batman Caped Crusader. Next month, Pat, Jake, and I are jumping back into the collectible miniatures game HeroClix for the first time in like 15 years. We recently dropped part 2 of our Game Club discussion on the second half of Assassin's Creed Origins in the same podcast feed. We hope that you will jump in on our next Game Club game. Thank you so much for listening to Outside is Overrated. Please review us on your favorite podcast platform and consider supporting our show on Patreon at patreon.com/OiO. For Brian and Phoenix at PhoenixSidLogic OiO on Instagram, I'm TomSidLogic at TomSidLogic OiO. We'll talk to you next month. Stay inside, kids.